right, got some things to show you here about this next little assignment. This is creating a character using Adobe Animate. And mostly this is about some kind of weird things that happen with drawing tools in Adobe Animate that are different than other programs. So what I'm going to ask you to do here is create some kind of little character by using any combination of like the shape tools and some shape combining or subtracting and the ink bottle and grouping and things like that, which I'm about to show you, by the way. Those are new things that we haven't really talked about in this program. So I'm about to demonstrate how all that works. And then once you get this little character built, I'd like for you to animate it a little bit, just a little bit of frame-by-frame animation, tap F6 and make it move around a little bit. It really doesn't have to be very much animation at all today, nothing much on the animation. It's more about the drawing tricks that I want to show you. They're not listed here, but I'm going to show them to you here in just a second. I am going to do, I'm scrolling this down. Oh, here I set it. I'm going to do a robot. Oh goodness, this thing's being slow, sorry. I'm going to do a robot. I kind of suggest that today, but you don't have to do a robot if you don't want to. If you see these ideas and you want to do something different, that's okay with me. All right, let's get over here to Animate and go to work. I'm going to create a new movie here, so I'll create new, and I'm going to go to HD, and I'll click Create right there. We're ready to roll. I'm going to pull my stage up a bit. I might change my stage color just for kicks and giggles, make it a gray color. All right, it's beautiful. Now, this is not the assignment yet. I have some things to show you. I'm going to come over here to the left-hand side, and I'll do this with an oval. I'm going to get the oval tool right now, and I'm going to make this stroke size fairly big to really exaggerate it. It's filled with red, stroked with black. I'm going to draw an oval out here. There we go. All right. Nice big circle. Now, if I come along here and I get my black arrow tool and I have nothing selected, if I click off here in an empty spot and I'm looking at that circle and I think, well, okay, I've got this big circle in my movie and I want to move it or something like that. So I take my black arrow and I click on the red part and I drag it across here, and oh my goodness, look what just happened. That's kind of weird. There are not a lot of drawing programs that do it that way, but here's what happened. It grabbed the fill and not the stroke. The fill and the stroke were not necessarily like connected together. They're separate things. So that red fill kind of came out of the stroke, or the stroke came off of the fill, or however you want to say that. So heads up about that. When you're drawing and creating things in this program, be aware that that can happen to you. Now I could Control Z undo that, and there's ways around it. There we go, I got it back. If I take my black arrow and I select all of that, if I select all of it, right, select all of it, then I would be able to grab that and move it as desired. If it's all selected, it stays together. And here's one of the things that I did want to show you. You can right-click on this. Oh, golly, make a line around me. It's not on the right-click menu, but it's on the Modify menu. You can group things, right? Modify and group, or Control G. You can group things together. So that it seems weird to think about grouping that circle because it seems like it's just one thing. But really, as far as this program is concerned, that circle it's got a fill and a stroke, and they're not necessarily connected together. And so I could group them if I wanted to, right? I could click group, and now those are going to stay together no matter what because they're grouped together. All right, let's get rid of that and let's go on to something else that I want to show you. Okay. Now, this time, I'll do this. Let's see. I'll do this. Well, I'll just keep the oval tool going here. But I'm going to set the stroke to none. All right. And this has a red fill and a, excuse me, red fill and no stroke. So I'm just going to draw like a red circle there, and I'll draw another like kind of bigger red circle there, and then maybe over here, a bigger red circle like that, and something like that. Okay, great. Now, right now, I've got 3 separate circles, right? And I can click them and drag them around. I'm using my black arrow tool, and I can move them around and do whatever I want with them. Now, watch what happens if you take 2 things that are the same color and make them touch or overlap. Like if I take this and I make it kind of overlap that circle like that, and then if I click off of it, if I deselect it, I click away from it. right? I click in an empty spot to make sure that nothing is selected. Look what happened. Those are automatically, I didn't tell it to do this. It did it on its own. Anything that is the same color that touches like that will very quickly automatically get united together into one shape. I can't take those apart anymore. That's one shape now. And then here's another example of it. If I take this red, this is the same color. And if I take this red and I put it on like right here, and then I click off of it, if I select away from it so it's not selected anymore, oh my goodness, those were the same color. So what happened to them? They united together. So again, I'm telling you that, let me switch that up and do something, just kind of a different color. If I draw a, here I'll move that over. If I draw a green rectangle, and then I draw another green rectangle, and I take this first green rectangle and I put it on here kind of like that, and then I deselect it. They're the same color and they're touching, so what just happened? Well, now it's one piece. You can't take them apart anymore. They're combined together. It did it automatically. I didn't click a button. I didn't do a menu. I didn't tell it to do it. It just does it. All right, so if things that are the same color kind of overlap or touch each other, and then you deselect and you click off of it, they combine themselves together. All right, so let's get rid of those for a minute. What if they're not the same color? I'll go back to the oval tool. Right now I have green working, so I'll do green, and then I'll come along here and I'll do a different color. And I'll get my black arrow, and I've got this kind of purple or blue, whatever you want to call it, and I'll lay that purple or blue on top of the green like that. All right. So you see that now these are two pieces, two shapes that are overlapping one another, but they are not the same color anymore. And if I deselect off of here, I click in an empty spot so that nothing is selected. Now, watch what happens if I come back here and I grab this blue oval and I move it. I grab it and I pull it away. Look what happened. It took a bite out of the green. Where the blue oval was lying, it took a bite out of it. It's like that minus front thing that we used to do in Illustrator. Look at that. It took a chunk out of it. Here's another quick example. If I were to come along here, I'll get a rectangle. I'll draw a rectangle. And let me get a different fill color. I'll get like a orangish fill color. And I'll draw this rectangle like right down like that. Okay, that should work. Okay, so I drew this rectangle that's overlapping the blue oval. I'm clicking away to deselect everything. Nothing is selected right now. Okay, and then I come here and I grab that yellowish colored oval and I just like pull it off of there or whatever. And look what happened. It took a bite out of it. It took a chunk. Where it was laying there, there's nothing there anymore. And this now becomes a separate piece. And this now becomes a separate piece. And then I have this piece as well. But you see what happened to the blue oval there. I laid that yellow rectangle over top of it. And it's kind of like it did a minus front thing on it, right? It took a chunk out of it. All right. So something else to keep in mind as you're working and you're trying to draw and create things in this Adobe Animate program. Here's another little thing I'd like for you to know about. I'm going to use the rectangle tool to show you this. Doesn't really matter a whole lot what color it is to begin with. All right. So I'm going to draw that out. If I take the black arrow tool and I kind of sneak up on a side of it, not a corner, but a side. Actually, I can do some things on the corner as well. But I want to show you this. If I kind of sneak the mouse up on the side of a shape like this, I can bend it. Look, I can just grab it with the black arrow and I can kind of reshape that. I can bend it. And I could take, if I wanted to take this edge and bend it in some, I could do that. And I could take this edge and bend it in. And I could take this edge and bend it in. So you can actually just use the black arrow tool to reshape some things once they're already drawn. Here's another quick example. Let me just throw a different color, something different on there. All right, so kind of a red circle, right? If I take the black arrow tool and grab the edge of it, I can kind of blob that thing out and change its shape by just grabbing the very edge, and I can kind of play around and reshape it as I wish. right? I could do this kind of thing. I could take it way in like that, or I could pull it out like that, or I could come down here to this end of it and stretch it out more oblong down here. So that's something else that you need to know about this program when you're trying to create certain things. You can just use the black arrow tool to grab like an edge of it and kind of reshape some things that you've got going on. All right, so let's get rid of those and move on to something else. There is, and this can be kind of handy, there is an eyedropper tool. And the keyboard shortcut for the eyedropper tool is the letter I. And here's the idea behind how the eyedropper tool works. If I have an oval like this, and then let's say I come along here and I have another oval like this. And if I'm working on, something that's going to go into my animation, some piece of scenery or a character or whatever, and I think, oh gosh, you know what? I want that red one to be the same color as the other one. The eyedropper tool can be great for matching color. So if I take my black arrow and select the red, right, just click on the red, and then I'll switch to the eyedropper tool, tap the letter I on the keyboard, and then I click the green. Now this one over here matches, and I'll go switch back to my black arrow and deselect it. It'll look a little bit better. So the one over here on the left now matches because I used the eyedropper tool to help me do that. Right? So the eyedropper tool can help you take things and match color inside your animation that you're building. One other thing I'm going to show you here before I get into the actual assignment, right? These are just little like drawing tricks that I want you to know about. There is also a tool right over here. We've talked a little bit about the paint bucket tool. The paint bucket tool will fill areas that have a boundary. If you have something that actually has a boundary, you can fill. If I were to just take this paint bucket tool right now and just try to fill like this whole, I'm trying to fill this whole gray thing. Well, it won't fill because there's no boundary, right? But if, for example, I took the pen tool and I created, I'm just taking the pen tool and just going kind of click, 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 right? So that's got a boundary. And I can go get that bucket tool, and then I can fill inside of that. And so that's what the paint bucket is. The paint bucket is tool. I can't talk. Sorry. That's what the paint bucket tool is for. But if you click and hold on the paint bucket tool, there is another tool called the ink bottle tool that I would like for you to see, a little bit about what that does. So here's how that works. First of all, I'm going to switch back here to my black arrow and just make sure everything is deselected. And now I'll go get that ink bottle. Press and hold. I'll get the ink bottle. And if I come over here and I click on that, do you see how it added an outline on that circle when I clicked on it? The ink bottle will add a stroke, is what it will do. Like here's this other green circle that I've got here. It's got no stroke around. It's just a fill. It's just a green fill. But if I take the ink bottle and I click on it, it added a stroke. And it's adding that stroke based on what I'm seeing over here on the properties panel. It's a black stroke size 22, which is where I left it. So like if I came along here and I changed that color and I come over here, okay, let's do it red, right? Because I changed the stroke color to red, and then I came over here with the ink bottle and I clicked on that, so it gave it a red stroke. Or if I said, well, okay, let's do that one in blue, right? I changed the color to blue, and I came over here with the ink bottle and I clicked on that circle and it gave it a blue stroke around the outside. And it will do it with any shape. The ink bottle will put a stroke around it if that's something that you would like. All right, so showed you several things there. So I'm going to take all of these things that I have on the stage and get rid of them. And real quickly here, now this is what I really want you to do on the assignment, right? I want you to build something that build some kind of little character and use some of these tricks that I showed you. Let me show you some ideas. I'm going to go get the oval tool. I really like keyboard shortcuts, folks. Right now I want no stroke and I want kind of a dark gray fill. And I'm going to draw an oval like that. Okay, cool. Now, the next thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to draw a rectangle, but it's going to be a different color. It doesn't matter what color. I don't really care what color. I'm going to draw a rectangle kind of like that. And I'm going to take that rectangle and lay it on top of that oval, just like that. Deselect it. And now just think about what I showed you. I'm going to drag away that green box that I put on there. What's going to happen? I cut off the bottom of the circle, right? I kind of have a half circle left. That's what I wanted. That's what I was going for. So I don't really need that green box anymore. I'm just going to delete it. Now, the next thing I'm going to draw, I want it to be that same color gray. How can I make sure something's the same color? Ooh, eyedropper. So I'll just click the eyedropper, and I'll tap I for eyedropper, and I'll click on that. And then if I go to the rectangle tool, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a rectangle, kind of like that. And I want it to touch, because I'm going to wind up making a robot. You'll see where I'm headed here in a minute. Now, I drew it's like a neck. I drew it up there, and it's the same color, and they're touching. What's that mean? If they're the same color and they're touching, what just happened? They're united together automatically. I didn't have to tell it to do that. It just did it, because that's the way it works, right? I'm going to get the rectangle tool once again, and I'm going to come out here and draw a rectangle kind of like that. This isn't going to be the greatest robot ever. I'll take my black arrow and I'll move that up there and just kind of get it sitting on there the way I want, sort of like that. That'll work. And I'll click off of it. Those are the same color of gray. So what just happened? They united together. All right, well, once again, I'm going to draw another little thinner rectangle here. I'll take my rectangle tool. I'm going to draw another kind of thinner rectangle, black arrow tool. I'm going to pull this up here, drop that in, boom. And then I'm going to get the oval tool, and I'm going to give my robot's going to have like a roller kind of thing that it rolls on. And we're going to go kind of like that. Now, because those are all the same color, what happened to them when I made them all touch or overlap? Well, that's all one piece now, right? Head, neck, body, the roller at the bottom, they're all one piece because I built them all the same color. All right, now, a few other details that I'm going to throw on to this guy. I'm going to get the rectangle tool once again. I'm going to draw a rectangle like that, and a rectangle like that. And then I'm going to draw a kind of an oval or a circle, kind of like that. And then you'll see where I'm going with this. If you'll just be patient, you'll see where I'm going. Just gotta watch. All right, so here we go. Now watch, a little bit of construction happening here. All right, I'm going to take that over. Those are the same color gray, and I'm going to take that over like that. Same color gray. Now this, I'm going to stick in here this way, and then I'm going to deselect. And then I'm going to pull that blue away. All right. That gives me, it's like a claw. But I want to rotate that claw. I don't have the claw pointed the way I want it to be pointing. So if you want to rotate something, here's what you can do. You can use the free transform tool. Keyboard shortcut is Q, and I'm just going to rotate it. We saw this on the layers assignment with the trampoline, right? I'm just going to rotate that claw, and I want to bring that claw up like here, and then I'm going to click off of it. And because those are the same color of gray, they are now united together. That whole arm construction is all one piece. Now, if I want him to look a little bit more buff or something, I could puff out his arms some. Remember, you can bend edges. So if I wanted to do that, I could bend those edges a little bit if I felt like I wanted to. Kind of like that. He's been in the weight room. Now, before I attach this to this side of the robot, you can see where I'm headed with this. I think I want another one. I think I want one to put on the other side. If you hold the Alt key and drag an object, it's just like Illustrator. It'll make a duplicate. You can hold the Alt key and you drag something that you built. Now, the only problem with this arm over here is it's kind of pointed the wrong way. I'd rather have a mirror image of that. Well, there are a lot of ways to do it, but I'm going to just grab a side handle here, and I'm just going to take it sideways like this, and it's just going to make it flip. Look at that. All right. Well, that looks pretty good to me. So now I'll just use my black arrow, and I'll take this arm and connect it. And I'll take this arm and connect it. And now you just, the rest of the way, you just get into little details that maybe you want to add. It just kind of depends on what you want to do, right? I'll put like a little hub down here. I might take the brush tool with some red and go like, he looks a little mean, and I might go kind of like that. Now here's another thing I could do if I wanted to. I could take that ink bottle tool, or the ink bottle tool. I want to make sure nothing is selected, and then I'll get the ink bottle tool, and I want black, not too big, and I'm going to click, boom, like that. Yeah, let me Control Z, and I'm going to make that even smaller. I don't want it to be that thick. Boom, that's better. All right, the ink bottle tool now has put kind of a thin black outline all around my whole robot. So by using some of the tricks that I showed you as I went through the first part of this movie, I have built a little robot. The only other thing that I want you to do, I'm going to go ahead and group this guy right here. Control G is group. And then the only other thing I want you to do is you got to animate whatever it is you make a little bit. And it doesn't have to be a lot of animation. I'm just going to do a little bit I'll tap F6 and make him kind of slide onto the screen here. The animation really can be almost nothing. I'm not going to be picky about the animation today. I want you to get in there and play with those drawing tools, but I do want you to animate it a little bit. Get in there and have a little bit of fun with the animation part of it. All right, all I'm doing here is tapping F6 and then making him move a little bit at a time. So if I press enter, my little robot just goes scooting across the stage, and I'm perfectly happy with that. Right? So what I want you to do here is use those drawing tricks that I showed you, like combining things that are the same color or using things that are different colors to kind of chop away or subtract out pieces, bending edges, the eyedropper tool, the ink bottle tool, whatever helps you get the job done, right? Doesn't have to be anything super big and fancy, but let's go to work.